Will you need to pay it back? The potential year of reckoning when it comes to stimulus checks. Now that it's officially tax season, the main question circling around out there is, will you need to pay back the stimulus check that you received in 2021? I'm going to be answering this question for you, as well as talking through some other very important information right here in this video, so let's get right into it. But if you haven't done so, or if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video so you can join the fastest growing advocacy group and the #1 channel right here on YouTube dedicated to bringing you daily updates as it pertains to stimulus, the stimulus package, stimulus checks, low income, fixed income, Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA, RRB, money, benefits, and so much more that we're covering right here in the videos every single day. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video so you don't miss any videos going forward, especially with these two new proposals on the table right now for new stimulus packages. Yeah, there's a lot going on out there, so let's get into this right away. And yes, in just a few minutes here, my wife Corey will be back with the new updated list of shoutouts from names pulled right out of the fan club, so make sure to stay tuned for that, as your name may be called if you are a member of the fan club. So let's get into this right now. All right, so as I continue to do my research every single day, I continue to come across this question a lot lately, and I want to lay this out for you because I'm sure many of you in this community are probably wondering the exact same thing. Will you potentially need to pay back your stimulus check that you received in 2021? Scary question, right? Because let's be real, how many of us are still holding on to that stimulus check that we received back in 2021? I'm not. We spent that thing right away, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of us in this community are probably in the same position. You got the stimulus check back in 2021, and all of a sudden it came in one door and went out the other door almost immediately. There's probably a very small percentage of people that are still holding on to that stimulus check. So we want to talk about this because let me give you just the general answer. In some instances, yes, some people will need to pay that stimulus check back. In some instances, no, you won't need to pay it back. Now, I want to talk about the stimulus check first, but then again, I also want to talk about the monthly child tax credit, the CTC payments that were going out as advanced payments throughout the second half of 2021. So we'll talk about that second, but first we'll talk about the stimulus checks, because that's more widespread. That went out to hundreds of millions of Americans. Meanwhile, the child tax credit payments only went out to about 36 to 38 million people. So let's talk about stimulus checks first. All right, so one quick side note and one quick disclaimer. Of course, I'm not your CPA. I'm not your accountant. I don't know your exact situation, so this is not financial, accounting, tax advice in any way, shape, or form, but rather this is general statements because everybody's situation is very, very different, and I don't know everybody's situation, but I can give you general information and let you know these are some of the parameters around this. So let's talk through this. All right, so now that we are in the official season right now, where 2021 tax returns need to be filed be anywhere between now and basically mid-April when the tax deadline is due. Many of us are wondering, will we need to pay back that stimulus check, the $1,400 that we received in 2021, or a portion of it? Scary question to even think about, right? I know a lot of us don't even want to think about that. So the vast majority of people, I'm going to say this, you do not need to pay back your stimulus check. There will be some people who need to pay it back. Let's just say this much. If you received a stimulus check in 2021 as an advance on a refundable tax credit, which is exactly what the stimulus check is, you don't really need to worry about all of these fancy terms. It doesn't really matter. That's just what the stimulus check is. It's an advanced payment on a tax credit that's going to show up on your 2021 tax return if you were to file a tax return, right? However, I know that the vast majority of people here in the community probably don't file a tax return because I know that a lot of you here also receive Social Security benefits, retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, and many of these fixed benefits. So for the vast majority of people, the simple answer would probably be no. In most instances, in the vast majority of people receiving those benefits, the simple answer would be no, you won't need to pay your stimulus check back. However, if you happen to be somebody who has an income and your income exceeds $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple, you may need to pay some of that money back. Now here, let me explain this a little bit further, because here is where all this is coming from. The distribution of the $1,400 stimulus check in 2021 was based on your 2020 tax return, okay? So I know we're going back a couple years here, year and a half, couple years, but this is how it's all based on. So what the IRS did is they took your 2020, so 2020 tax return or your information based on 2020, and that is how they determined if you were eligible to receive a $1,400 stimulus check in 2021 as an advanced payment. That's what those were, remember? An advanced payment. So they were going off of information that was potentially old, right? They were going off of potential old information with the anticipation that, okay, you're eligible based on your 2020 information. Therefore, in early 2021, let's send out the check as an advance based on that information. And then if it changes, we may need to recover that fund in early 2022 as a result of the official data from 2021. Sounds confusing, right? Well, yeah, it is kind of confusing. That's why I'm trying to explain this a little bit more here. So, if your situation changed from 2020 to 2021, you could potentially be looking at a situation where you may need to pay back a portion of your stimulus check. That's why we've got to talk through this, because it's very important to understand this. So the IRS was looking at 2020 tax returns, information from 2020 to determine the eligibility of that stimulus check in early 2021. Therefore, now that we're in 2022 and 2021 tax returns are actually eligible to be filed with the IRS, they're going to look at your new updated 2021 records and your tax return and determine now, are you eligible for that stimulus check from 2021? Get what I'm saying? So here's what it's going to be based on. If you earned a bunch of money in 2021, for some reason, again, if you did, congratulations, that's great. But if you happen to earn a bunch of money in 2021, they may actually ask you to pay that back because therefore your income would be over the thresholds of $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple. So that would be one situation. So again, we got to watch that very closely as well, right? So if your situation changed, as in maybe you were claimed as an adult dependent in 2021, again, they may be coming back and saying, excuse me, we actually prepaid you, whereas you were claimed as an adult dependent, right? So again, that one could be up in the air right now. However, let me point this out as well. Here's what happened in 2020. Now again, the situation was very different. In 2020, they sent out the two stimulus checks, $1,200 and $600 for a total of $1,800. However, when you went to file your 2020 tax returns in early 2021, they basically said that they were using the 2019 and 2018 tax returns. However, if in 2020 your income was over the threshold, they basically just said, keep the money, you don't need to pay us back. That was pretty cool, right? So that was for those people who maybe had income over the thresholds. They basically just said, if you earn too much, you don't need to pay the money back. We're not going to recover it. So that's kind of where those thresholds come in. So that is something that I wanted to lay out there because it's very important to understand this in the event that maybe your situation changed from 2020 to 2021. They may come a knocking with a form of a letter, I should say, and they may be asking for that money back. So if you typically file a tax return, it may show up there on the tax return as far as, I guess I'm not eligible anymore, and now I need to pay some back. Or if they potentially look at your situation and you don't file a tax return, maybe they would send you a letter. But again, as I said a minute ago, I don't want to instill fear in anybody with this video, but it's something that we need to understand because it is very important. We're talking about a pretty nice amount of money, $1,400. That's a lot of money, right? So we got to understand this. However, I want to make it very clear. The vast majority of people in this community will not need to pay it back, okay? You probably will not need to pay it back unless your situation changed in a big way from 2020 to 2021. If that's the case, then potentially we could be looking at something, right? Okay. And yes, that does pertain to Social Security, SSDI, SSI, survivors, retirement, VA, RRB, all of these benefits we always talk about. Yes, it always pertains to all of that as well. So I hope that kind of clarifies it a little bit, but I want to make it very clear, again, so that there's no confusion, the vast majority of you in this community will not need to pay it back, right? But there's always an exception to the rule, and there's always somebody that will need to pay it back, right? So anyway, I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Now, let's talk about something else really quickly. The child tax credit payments. These are the advanced payments going out on a monthly basis through the second half of 2021. Now, of course, now that we're in 2022, those payments have officially stopped as of right now. But the same question lies. Will there actually be some repayment when it comes to these child tax credit payments? Now, here's another thing. The same answer applies. Possibly, you might need to pay some of that back, right? So here's what it comes down to. It comes down to income. If your income was over the thresholds, once again, $75,000 as an individual or $150,000 as a married couple, you might be looking at paying back some of those child tax credit payments. So these are the advanced payments. However, remember, the IRS still owes you the other half of the payments. It could be anywhere between $1,500 and $1,800, depending on the age of your kid, right? If you have one kid. If you have two, then you're looking at a couple $1,000s more than that, right? But so here's the deal. If you have a tax liability, maybe here's what would happen with the child tax credit. Since they owe you a lump sum amount of money still this year, 2022, on your tax return, that is coming through as a refundable tax credit, right? So basically it means that even if your income is zero, they still owe it to you because it's a refundable tax credit. However, if you do have a tax liability, basically what would happen is they would minus that off of what you owe the IRS. So let me give you a quick example and then I'll let you go. Let's just say, for example, you owe $5,000 in taxes. Ouch, not a fun situation. Let's just say that you owe $5,000. But let's just say that you're eligible to receive a lump sum payment of $1,500 as the other half of your child tax credit payments. But you have a liability of $5,000. Here's what they would do. They take the $5,000 that you owe them, they would apply the refundable tax credit, otherwise known as the other lump sum payment of the child tax credit checks, right, for you, and they'd apply that against the $5,000 that you owe them. So you owe them $5,000, they owe you $1,500. They'd apply it together, and it would reduce your tax liability from $5,000 down to $3,500. Make sense? Yeah. It's as clear as mud, as they say, right? Clear as mud. Yes, I can see right on through. I totally understand, right? So anyway, I hope this answers it for you. But either way, just recognize that some of this money may be collectible by the IRS, right? They may come back and ask. However, I want to make it very clear once again when it comes to the stimulus checks and the CTC, the child tax credit payments, the vast majority of people in this community, I'm going to go ahead and say, will not need to pay back any of this because I know the community here. I know the vast majority of you here in the community. Income is low, right? Here on the channel, we talk a lot about fixed income, low income, and things like this. So the vast majority of people here in the community are lower income with incomes under $75,000 and under $150,000 as a married couple. Therefore, if you're in that situation, you're pretty much good to go. But again, I cannot give everybody the green light simply because I don't know everybody's situation. There's a lot of people here and I don't know everyone's exact situation. Therefore, I can't say, yeah, we're all in the clear or no, we all have to pay it back, right? We just got to be very careful with this, but just recognize I wanted to lay this out there and let you know this is one of the main questions circling around right now. Will you need to pay it back? Sometimes yes, and for the most part, most of the time, no. Hope that answers it. So anyway, with that being said, make sure to subscribe down below. It's totally free to do so. Share this video with your friends, family, social media. Go back and check out any of the other 2,000 videos here on the channel. And with that being said, Corey is going to come in now and read the new updated list of shoutouts in this video that are pulled right out of the fan club. And by the way, if you're interested in checking out the fan club, it is 100% optional. It is not required. All of the videos here on the channel are 100% free, always have been, always will be. But the fan club is just for those people who want a little bit extra and a little bit more. So feel free to check that out. There's a link down in the description. Otherwise, at the top of the comments section, I will pin a comment as well. And with that being said, enough out of me. Let's bring in Corey for that list of shoutouts, and congratulations in advance.
We'd like to give a shout out to Judith Seibert, Lucia Diaz, Cindy, Mike Clabo, Catherine Garcia, Kimberly A. Lozer, Alan Stark, and 1624 Madlocks. Thank you guys for being in the fan club.